facing now, I would consider as probably one of the biggest challenges we've ever faced. Well, we're in manufacturing and we can't hesitate. When it's your business, you sort of live by the sword, die by the sword. It's not about you, it's about the staff and it's about your team. But indirection or no direction is
no man's land. Darren, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
Very nice to have you here, back again. So today we're talking all things reality of running a business.
Right.
You ready to dive in?
I am. Be gentle.
Be gentle. How many years have you been, would you say, collectively in business?
Well, in this business that I'm currently in, about 30 years.
So just beginning?
Yeah, that's right. Worked in other businesses before that and bit of government, many years ago. But yeah, basically in this business for the last 30 odd years.
How did your journey with Spectrum Plastics begin?
Started as obviously quite a small business, and it just evolved over time. Just about being open, talking to people, finding out where there's new opportunities and investing in those opportunities to get where we got to today.
It's come a long way, as you know. When people look at business from the outside, they often see the finished product. What do you think people underestimate about running a business day to day?
There's always challenges. I think, there's probably a bit of an idea that, it's all easy and, you get plenty of spare time and things just naturally come to you and it's all very easy.
All strawberries and cream.
Correct. Unfortunately, it's a constant challenge. And there's always something or someone that wants to throw you a bit of a curveball, and you just got to be open to those challenges on a daily, weekly basis because they keep coming.
Every business has tough chapters. Can you think of a moment or a period that really tested you and changed the way you approach business? I know where, I guess from your point of view, you've got a lot of moving parts in your business as far as import, export. In that 30 years, is there anything that you can, a period of time or an era that's been more difficult?
I think in the early years, it's all really evolving quickly. So you hop on for the ride and you deal with little problems as they come up, and because you're only small and you're quite dynamic and innovative in those early years, you almost manage the challenges easier because it's just you take your knocks, you move on, but you're in a growth phase. After a long period of time where we are sort of now, you reach a maturity in your business, but you still get problems, but they're different type of problems, and they're often bigger problems because you are just a bigger business. So, things like the pandemic, with COVID, we saw, I would describe that as a logistics challenge. Plenty of things were still getting made around the world, and we didn't have issues getting materials. We still had staff. We were able to isolate, follow protocols, and we managed through that. But the issues in that one was that we just couldn't get a ship. So we couldn't send stuff out, we couldn't get stuff in. That was the challenge. So you just have to overbuy, fill the shed up and try and manage the issues with logistics by just carrying more stock. Then what we're facing now, I would consider as probably one of the biggest challenges we've ever faced, is for us being in plastics. Most things are oil-based, oil derivatives. So now a lot of people reference back to the pandemic, but it's quite different. This is not a logistics challenge. There are some very small logistics challenges, but this is actually a challenge of getting raw materials. Everything that was being made globally has rapidly changed about availability. So we've seen a huge increase in prices, most of them by 50 to 100% in a very short space of time, and you can't get them. So plenty of ships, plenty of people, but unfortunately not a lot of manufacturers because they can't get the raw materials. So again, we're faced with having to spot buy. We're faced with a huge communication challenge. So we are regularly having to talk to our customers and say, look, we've got an order from you, it's not at that price anymore. We've got an order from you, it's not at that price anymore. And this is evolving on a weekly, monthly, second, third month as much as we can buy material. So we're going back to customers and saying, look, we've got this material, available to us. This will be the price. This will lock you in for 3 months or 4 months or 1 month as it comes, and off we go. So we're doing that, but on top of that, there's a lot of challenges with just workplace challenges. It's a very inflationary market, so this has all come on top of massive inflation that we're seeing. So the government talks about figures in 3, 4, 4.6%. I think was the last one. But the harsh reality out there is it's a lot more. These are historical numbers that we're getting, but I feel like the day-to-day numbers are way higher. I think it's probably that they're basing it on historical data. So when you look over 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, the impact seems minimal. But I think the actual current impact on everything is very high.
And is it true that some people were quick that you store some of your materials at the Perth Mint because it's so expensive?
It feels like it. So we've had to make that decision financially to invest in raw materials and invest in our customers. So a lot of the customers don't realise, but we've just bought more to hold more, so that we can offer a bit of a flat playing field. But it's also a management point of view as well. If you have to continually buy, then you are continually trying to change prices or watch your pricing. And this is where a lot of businesses will really struggle, because they'll be buying materials because whatever that material is, and that input cost will be higher. We'll certainly see that in construction. There's a lot of fixed priced housing contracts out there, and the building industry is suffering some massive increases.
And it's always, depending on where you are and where you're at in business, but would all love to be proactive. Unfortunately, a lot of those trade businesses and a lot of companies out there are probably more reactive, probably don't have the foresight or the forethought to do what you're doing and storing. And there's obviously, I'm sure that comes with an element of risk as well.
But it's also resources. It's people resources, because if you're going to continually or on a daily, weekly basis, talk to your customers about price changes and sending emails and new price lists and things like that, you need a dedicated team to be able to do that. A lot of small businesses won't have that. And if they do, those people are probably utilised doing other jobs. So there are a lot of challenges on the back end as well. It's easy to say, we need to communicate better with our clients. Well, you've got to have the people to be able to handle that communication as well.
So changing gears here to leadership, pressure and people, one of your favourites. As a business owner, how do you look for direction, especially when things are uncertain? How have you learnt to make decisions under pressure?
I think being in business, you learn to make decisions under pressure. The good thing is when it's your business, you sort of live by the sword, die by the sword. What decisions you make are ultimately the direction you have to go. But it's more important to make a decision and back it and move on than to not.
Be all in.
That's right. You've got to make it. And if it's a problem and you've made a mistake, then you own the mistake and you work back from there accordingly. But indirection or no direction is a death,
no man's land.
Yeah, is a death trap. Yeah.
And these days everything's moving at rapid pace. To fix it and to go back is probably going to be less damage than if you make no decision at all and just and ah about it and go, you know what, probably should have pulled the pin on that or should have hit the button on that.
Well, we're in manufacturing as well. So with us, we can't hesitate. If our clients need something, even if our cost goes up, we have to deliver it and look after the customer. At the end of the day, the customer is what we're here for. And if we can't service our customers, either someone else will or our customers will have a bigger problem. So at the end of the day, it is all about keeping it moving and keeping customers happy, keeping staff satisfied and keeping the machine running.
So tell me about a big decision you got wrong and what did it teach you?
I don't dwell on things that I got wrong so much. I'd like to think I haven't got too many wrong, but I'm sure there'd be plenty of people that say I have. Sometimes you can buy material and end up with prices dropping behind you.
Is that a slow curve? Is that like the currency, it doesn't just halve overnight, the dollar doesn't go to parity overnight, it's that slow moving curve?
Well, correct, except where we are now, we've seen things jump, instantaneously almost. Within a month period, things have gone up 50 to 100% from a raw material base. Usually it is a slow change. So if you end up with stuff that's a little bit more expensive and prices ease, it's not so bad because you wear that out and the next lot of material will come in a little bit lower and you're okay.
And do you reckon in this market at the moment where everything is moved and looking in, based on your, call it 30 years of experience in this business, is there, looking back without dwelling on the past, is there a scenario where you build that muscle memory that goes, I've seen this before, whether there's civil unrest in war-torn countries, you go, that's going to put pressure on supply, or this is going to squeeze the Aussie dollar, or...
There is, to a certain extent. In business, we always like to try and plan, and probably more so when you're either in distribution or you're in manufacturing, because without raw material or without stock, a lot of businesses just can't survive. So we like to look on what's going to stop our business or what's going to reduce our business in a challenging period. Now, is that the fact we're going to run out of toilet paper? Is that the fact we're going to run out of packaging tape? Is that the fact that we're going to run out of raw material?
Motivation.
Or motivation. What is the one item or the multiple items that are going to cause us grief? And a lot of the time people go, well, I've got manufacturing stuff, but now we can't get packaging tape, or I can't get boxes, and then you've got to manage that change. All the cardboard's gone up, all of our packaging stuff has gone up. Again, it is a challenge, but you just have to monitor everything and try and keep on top of it.
And you have touched on this next one briefly in that previous couple of minutes. And what has business taught you about leading people, whether that's staff, clients, suppliers, or people you work closely with? You sort of, I have a gut feel you might talk about open communication.
Communication is really important. I think the one thing is it's not about you. It's about the staff and it's about your team. It's all about making sure everyone's happy and everyone works, because if the team doesn't work, it's worse for you. So sometimes you've got to put your feelings aside, or your emotions aside, or your ego even aside, and just worry about the team, because at the end of the day, you don't have a business without your team. You're only as good as what you can produce. You're only as good as that group of people that are around you. So you lead, you be humble, and you make sure everyone's happy. And that they come to work and they do a good job and they want to come back the next day.
And I think from experience, I see a lot where, the old saying goes that the fish stinks from the head down. And generally I find that when you're dealing with certain clients or customers, and you know that how someone treats someone else as a customer, if that's how they get treated and talked to by the boss, then they see that as acceptable. And like you're saying, if you can manage your own emotions and you can be humble and put your ego aside, I think you'll find that can often show, flow down into your staff, and they will carry those traits as well, whether they be good traits or bad traits. If you're out there calling everyone a
whatever. I talk a lot about culture. It comes down to culture, and that's the culture of how you treat your staff, it's the culture of how you treat your clients, and it's the culture of how you just manage all of that. So culture is really important, and that respect and that culture of whoever it is really key.
Yeah, I think, look, deep down, I think everyone really wants to be loved and appreciated for exactly who they are, not be ridden like a Shetland pony at work every day. They come to work. So your leadership style over the last, call it 30 years, have you found that's changed, adopted? I don't know. I think it goes two ways. I think I've noticed as people get older, they get crankier, or they've got a lower tolerance for bullshit. But have you found your leadership style is softened?
Yeah, definitely softened. Yeah. I think exactly what I was saying before is, as you mature, I like to think that your approach matures a little bit. Things that probably got you offside earlier in your career, probably now you just sort of play around them. You learn to go.
Been there, done that.
You got to pick your battles. You know what I mean? And certain things are not worth having the aggravation about or losing sleep over. It's another day tomorrow, and we will find a way to manage those challenges.
And if those challenges aren't there tomorrow, I'm sure as the sun comes
up.
Well,
then the government will give you another challenge, or there'll be something else that gets thrown your way.
All right. So changing gears again. So business, family, and lifestyle. Your business is almost like your fourth child or your firstborn, or you probably spend more time here at work than you do at home. How do you find that or have you found that over the 30 years of finding that balance? Has that ever been a struggle, or you sort of?
Well, I think first of all, you got to love what you do. So if coming to work is a real chore and it gives you a lot of anxiety and pain, probably, you're not going to be able to do it for too long.
We should have been commercial fishermen.
Whatever it is. So the ability for me to be able to do it for 30 years is that, a lot of my clients have become friends, talking to them, seeing them. It's all quite a fun relationship. Yeah. So, and that's what you create. Whereas if you create hostilities and everything else, it is really tough. So first of all, I think to come to work, you've got to enjoy what you do. You've got to want to come to work. So most days I wake up and I'm used to going to work. I love going to work. I love the challenge of it. It's good. There's a good team of people that I have, and that all works pretty well. Family, yes, that's another big challenge. You've got to try and balance that and have as much time as you can. I probably, especially over time, in the early years, it was a bit more challenging, but I've always had a philosophy that I don't take work home. So if I have to work back late to get something finished so it's clear, I'll do that, but I don't take things home. As a rule, I try to avoid it as much as I can. When I drive out the driveway, my day is done. And then I move into family mode and everything else. I don't want to take things home. I don't want to do things at home on the weekends or anything else. If I miss stuff and I do need to come in on the very occasional weekend, I do exactly that. I leave home, I go to work on the weekend, and I go and try and achieve what it is that I didn't get done during the week. But that is a rarity, especially now. Generally speaking, the key for me is when you drive out the driveway, leave it all behind you.
And there's a lot of small business out there that probably wouldn't have that luxury.
No, that's exactly right.
And I'm sure you haven't always had that luxury. I'm sure that was, the early days of you at the grindstone.
Yeah, but I probably had that philosophy for most of the time. As I said, the difference would be that I would just work later. So now if I don't get it finished by 5 o'clock, I go, all right, well, I'll leave that till tomorrow. Whereas before I'd probably stay back till 6 or 7 o'clock. Whereas as your children and your family, everyone gets a bit older, you want to be spending time with them and things like that.
What's your idea of success, and has that changed over time?
Oh, look, it's very easy to judge success by money and, building up assets and things like that. And that is a part of success. But it's also success in yourself. It's success that you love to come to work, that you love what you do. That's a big success. So I think it's a balance. So success for me has got to be a balance. You've got to be able to earn good money. You've got to have a great working relationship. You've got to have a strong family. It has to be a balance. If you're having trouble in one area of that, then it is a struggle to get success. I'm very fortunate, blessed, if you will, that, I've got a great, group behind me, whether it be staff here. I consider them like a family, whether it's my customer base and the loyalty that they've shown me over the years, or it's my family.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well. Like it's you want to be able to share that success, and you want to see your staff as well succeed, and give them the opportunities for them working hard, and seeing other people be successful around you. I think contributes to that. You're only as good as the people around you, and if they're successful, it's nice to be successful together.
Yeah, share the ride.
Share the ride, not the losses. And for someone younger listening and who wants to build a strong business without losing sight of family, health and lifestyle, what advice would you pass on to them?
Just be strong. Don't take it as a no as the final answer. Try and work around it. Always look for opportunities. Look for different ways to attack things. They say there's more than one way to skin a cat. There are plenty of ways to do things differently, and at some point you've also got to be able to realise that it wasn't going to work and look for another opportunity. Markets are constantly evolving. You always need to be looking for new customers. You always need to be looking for new products to manufacture. You need to be looking for new opportunities. We've seen a lot of issues over the years where things were getting made in Australia, Western Australia, and those products move offshore. Customers decide that manufacturing becomes cheaper in another part of the world, and through no fault of your own, you'll lose a product range because the whole product is not being made here anymore, it's being made overseas. So you constantly need to be evolving and looking for new opportunities. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and it's any new business starting today, I think it's difficult. I was talking to a business owner the other day who said they burnt to the ground, spent $1 million on a website, and with the way technology was moving, ended up ripping up the contract after spending $1 million. Don't hold on to something just because it's cost you $1 million. Just if it's no longer relevant, it's not relevant to your business, not working for it, just cut it free and move on. There'll be another opportunity around the corner.
I think it's, getting sort of in line with that. It's really important to be good at what you do, especially when you've got a lot of opposition. It is really important to be better than the next guy. So whatever it is you're doing or however you do it, you've just got to make sure that either your service is better, your price is better, you're easier to deal with, whether that's, the way that you do your accounts, the way you accept your payments. It's really important to be a good supplier. That counts for a lot. You build up a relationship, and as long as you make it as easy as possible for people to deal with you, that really helps.
Now, one of your mantras, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. Is there any other 30-year cliches that we can leave our listeners with?
It's better to be looking at it than for it.
It's a classic.
It is a classic. I think that's a big one.
And relevant.
Yes, I think especially in our business, if you haven't got the raw material here and you can't make the product, then really we've got a much bigger problem. So better to be looking at it than for it, I say.
I like it. I don't like it. I love it.
I love it.
All right, Darren, thanks very much for your time. Good
really
to chat.
Really appreciate it. Great. Thanks for having me.
No, it's always a pleasure, and we might get you back on for your 31-year anniversary.
Oh, wow. How exciting. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
See you.